We've got Andrew, a theist, calling in from Ohio. Andrew, you're all live on Truth Wanted. What's up?
Hi, Andrew.
Hey, what's going on, Dan?
Man, we're talking about. I thought this was going to be a strictly alien show tonight, but then we got into demonic territory, which is fine. I did ask for maybe a little bit of a mix-up, and now here we are. So, what's up?
I wanted to talk about the absurdity of 9/11 conspiracies and all the different ones. Whether the Pentagon was hit by a missile or the Twin Towers had a controlled demolition applied to them. I just wanted to hear what your guys' thoughts are about that.
Okay, see, Andrew, you scared me for like a half second because I thought you were going to say that I want to talk about the ridiculousness of like the official account of 9/11. And I read your thing, like you were call screen. That's not what you're here to talk about, but that's what it sounded like for a split second. So I'm glad we're on the same page there. 9/11 stuff. Lot of wacky ideas out there, but it sounds like you had a couple in mind in particular you wanted to talk about.
Well, we got four different of all the conspiracies. We have like four different areas involved. We have the hijacking of the airplanes. We have the airplanes hitting the buildings. We have the buildings losing their structural integrity and collapsing. And then we have I guess you could say, a government inability to stop the attacks, which actually occurred. But the conspiracy theorists will use they'll use something like, well, no skyscraper has collapsed due to a structural fire, but they were hit by two Boeing 767s, which weigh on average at least 90 tons, plus 10,000 gallons of jet fuel. So that's going to destroy the structural integrity of the structure. So they're not even studying the physics of what happened on that day.
Yeah, that's the weirdest thing to me is people like, I understand different motivations behind the attacks. Like, that is a little more interesting to explore because like that's just more sensible. But the actual physics of the event that people dispute, like a plane ran into a building, like I don't know what other people expect from that. And it's not like people didn't see those planes like go into them. I guess the extra thing there is people say there's like charges and stuff in the buildings, right? That were like actually set off at the same time to like make it staged. But I don't know if you need charges to have a plane do the job of what it was intended to do. So yeah, I agree. It's totally ridiculous. I don't think you have to be a physicist to really see that. Yeah, this kind of makes sense. They were attacked and the structure of the building was not sound after a plane hits it. So who would have thought? Puck, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, whenever it comes to anything like this, there's always going to be, like, none of us have all the information, right? There's always going to be something we don't know. And how does that saying go? That there is always just enough light for the believers and just enough dark for people to doubt, right? And this is going to be happening universally, whatever. And whenever something major happens, people will more likely than not use it to strengthen the belief of their narrative of choice rather than have it change their minds. Like we even still have it now that no matter how many times particular dates have already come and gone, there are still some very strong adherents to the QAnon conspiracy, right? And so since you don't have all the information, but you have just enough information and you have just enough possible speculation and you have the New York Times that says, well, we can't rule out aliens, then it gives you that feeling of, yeah, there's a little bit of credibility to my narrative, whatever I want to do. And so the best I can say is, you know what, it makes sense. If a plane hits a building, it's going to cause a substantial amount of damage. I'm not a structural engineer. I couldn't tell you how much. So, I couldn't say one way or the other, but to come up with all these conspiracies and all these, they did it to create certain legislation or that it seems like whatever their goal was, they could probably find an easier way to do it that did not involve crashing airplanes also.
Now, there is a thing that goes around, Puck. I don't know if you've seen it, and I'm really struggling to find the name of this thing. I can't remember, but there is this document that's going around that of people who are supposed to be engineers that have signed off on this to this agreed statement that say like, yes, like the September 11th attacks couldn't happen because of their knowledge of engineering and stuff. And I don't even think it has like 100 signatures. I think it's just a couple, but like people will bring out that kind of stuff to say like, oh yeah, there are experts that do say, that this stuff is happening, but like, I don't know. And at some point it becomes offensive, honestly,
Yeah.
to really talk about this stuff. And it makes me uncomfortable personally, because we're not talking about some crazy UFO stuff here. We're talking about people's lives were lost that day. And to say that it was just this giant cover up for nefarious purposes, I mean, you have to really be on your A game if you're going to make that case. And these people that, at least from what I've seen, have not made that case sufficiently anyway. But anyway, Andrew, do you have more thoughts on it?
Just a few points. On Flight 93, the pilot intentionally flew the plane into the ground. So when planes crash into the ground, usually there's a leveling off or the pilot is trying to save the airplane. This Zia Jarrah, he literally flew the plane upside down 530 miles per hour into the ground because the passengers were trying to overtake the airplane. So he literally crashed it into the ground. That's why there's very little debris, even though some of it was buried underground, they found. So that's why there's very little wreckage there. With the Pentagon plane, we have the Flight 77 hijackers going through the airport. We have Barbara Olson's phone call from that airplane. Mm-hmm. And the reason that plane was, the air traffic controllers had difficulty finding that aircraft was it was passing through the United States National Radio Quiet Zone, which a lot of people don't research. So that's why they weren't able to track that plane until the last 10 minutes. And then they found out, oh my gosh, this plane's going to hit the Pentagon before it's too late. And, well, that's what Yeah,
and that's people don't bring up the Pentagon stuff too. That makes it even weirder, because if you're gonna have a coordinate attack and then attack, arguably one of the most important buildings to the defense of the nation, like you'd think there'd be something to that, right? But like the explanation that it was an act of terrorism genuinely seems like the best explanation there, given everything you see. Because the reason why I bring that up is because one of the claims people make is that it was like insurance fraud, basically, is why this stuff happened. But it's just there's too much against that as well. And also that has some roots in anti-Semitism there when you look into that one. But yeah, there's a lot of bad, crazy stuff. A lot of it thanks to Alex Jones's documentary Loose Change and other similar documentaries that have like perpetuated these narratives for a long time, but none of it's based on anything credible. And it's sad that people still talk about it, but they do. If you don't believe me, just go to Twitter and look up 9/11 stuff, and people post about it still to this day. So not great stuff. Makes me sad.
And remember, the complex of the World Trade Center consisted of 7 buildings. So when those Twin Towers collapsed, they collapse not like a controlled demolition, but they collapse outward, like 2-3 blocks. They hit all those buildings surrounding it and either damaged it or collapsed it. So like the Marriott Hotel, which was World Trade Center 3, that was completely obliterated just by the South Tower collapsing. So They always focus on World Trade Center 7, but they won't focus on World Trade Center 6, World Trade Center 5. But people confuse the Twin Towers with the rest of the other buildings in the complex, which when those buildings started to crumble, they crumbled on the other buildings as well, which destroyed those buildings as well. But they'll only focus on World Trade Center 7, which I just find funny.
Yeah, I mean, we have eyewitness testimony of the people who let those passengers in on the planes those days and stuff. I mean, there's like tons and tons of things you could really look at that would disqualify any really ulterior explanation for this stuff. But that's just not enough for some people. I think some people just really have it in their head that the government is evil and the government will lie and the government will trick you, and you just can't get around that sometimes. So I think you have to be pretty diehard to believe in a lot of the 9/11 stuff these days, but they're definitely still out there. Anyway, I think that's all I want to talk about with this particular topic, unless you had anything else you want to say, Puck.
No, other than clearly I have more information that I need to look up. So, but thank you very much for calling.
Yeah, thanks for calling, Andrew. Appreciate it. And hope you have a good rest of your night. And with that, we're kind of getting towards the tail end of Truth Wanted tonight. Puck, this was wild.
This was an adventure.
We went from outer space, we went back to the Bible, and then talked about 9/11. So just another episode of Truth Wanted.
Did we go to the Bible? I'm not sure we ever actually got to the Bible.
Well, we talked about demons.
we got
a guy on YouTube who can conjure demons via UFO apparitions. So I think that counts. I think I think Jesus talked about that. But anyway, this has been another great episode. Puck, thanks for being on the show. You're also on some other ACA shows.
I am. I'm actually going to be, and I like talking about this because I don't get to be on there very often. I'm scheduled to be on Secular Sexuality sometime coming up soon.
Yes.
Details are still being ironed out, so let's keep the mystery there. But apparently, I had such they liked me so much my first 2 times there. I've been invited back, so can look forward to that.
And I'm going to be on Talk Heathen this Sunday with a very special guest. I don't know if it's actually been announced yet, so I'm not going to say it unless Cruz says I can. But yeah, very special guest this Sunday. So check me out on Talk Heathen for that. And folks, we're coming to the tail end of Truth Wanted. Thanks for joining in. Okay. I'm saying I could say it. Jimmy Snow is going to be on with me this Sunday. I've known Jimmy for a little while now, so it's going to be a really fun time, I think. So please check that out this Sunday. I'm, going to be probably doing more of this stuff on Talk Heathen. So check this out when it happens.